Welcome back to Central Valley Talk. I'm Mike Scott. My next guest, Mark Jackson from Blue Dolphin Design and Engineering. We're going to talk today about what I'm holding in my hand. This was created, wow, by a 3D printer. I mean, I love this stuff, and it's amazing what can be done with 3D printing now. Mark, welcome back. You've been a guest on the show before.
Yeah, it's nice to see you.
You brought some examples today of the different things you can make with 3D printers.
I did, absolutely. One of the first images we're going to show here, this is what's called a Polyjet style printer. Now this is actually an image from our printer that we have in our facility.
That is the printer.
That's the printer.
That's
something being printed up for one of our customers right now, an inventor who had an idea for a product that we designed and engineered, and that in this case we were making a prototype of it. That particular printer works sort of like an inkjet printer in that it has 150 little nozzles that lay down a layer of plastic that is then cured by UV light, and then it continues to lay down plastic as it builds apart. Actually, builds apart out of nothing.
And you can end up with something like this.
Yes.
What is this, by the way?
Now that is just a sample part, just showing what we can do.
What it can do.
Yeah. Now the next image, is our cube printer. Now. It is what's called an FDM style, which is fused deposited material. The example that you held up, that was actually printed on that particular printer, and it can print in multiple colors in this case. We actually sell those printers, but that style printer is predominant throughout the world. A lot of guys who are hackers or makers, they make their own printers that can print like this. This printer sort of works like a hot glue gun, and that the plastic gets put through a nozzle that heats up, and then there's a head that moves around and forms the plastic, and that's how this particular part was made.
In different colors too.
In different colors,
Pretty cool.
any color of the rainbow, basically.
Yeah. All right. Pop up the next picture there, Michael. Let's see what we have.
Yeah. Okay. Now this is an example of metal printing. And this was done using an electron beam fused metal printer. And so they're actually printing in metal. They're printing titanium and all sorts of other materials now. Those particular printers are fairly expensive, but they exist, and you can make very complicated, interesting parts.
So the same concept? It's spraying metal into the whatever shape?
Same concept, yeah.
Wow.
The thing about 3D printing, it is, and it's changed the world, okay? 20 years ago, and 3D printing has been around now for decades, but 20 years ago, to make, for example, this part would have to be designed, and then we'd have to give the drawing to a tool maker. You'd have to make a tool. You'd have to have the part molded in plastic. So months later, I'd get this part.
Right.
And then if I had made a mistake or I need to make a change, I'd have to make a change and go through that whole process again. It would take months to develop an idea or a product.
Now with the printer, almost instantaneous. Hours,
days, minutes. Yeah, it is. The interesting thing is this is what the world expects, though. When you're doing development work, they expect you to be able to develop things very quickly. And we actually developed a product line for one of the local, for Rain Drip, which is actually a local company. And this product's now sold in Lowe's and Orchard Supply. And we had 4 months to develop the whole thing, go through prototyping, get the tooling, and help them get in production so they could actually produce put the part on the shelves at Lowe's and Orchard Supply in 4 months, the whole thing. So the thoughts, the 3D printing, the testing, that whole thing happened within 4 months. And it would have taken a couple years, probably 20 years ago, to do this whole thing with a lot more money.
Yeah.
It's just a fascinating type, how things have progressed.
Pop up the next picture.
Yeah,
Michael.
the next image. This is what's called SLA. This is kind of one of the first style of printing. This is actually like an epoxy that is...
what is that thing?
Well, can't really talk about what that is. But
I know what it looks like,
yeah.
but is that what I think it is?
It's actually, that one's actually created by fusing material with a laser. So the material's in a vat, and it fuses the material with a laser, and then it drops down a level and does it again until you actually grow the part out of liquid material. Very quick process. The next image kind of shows how we go through this. This is another one of the inventors that we've worked with. This is the towel hub. And what you see, that first image there is the actual computer-aided design That's the virtual design on the computer. The next image, that entire base and part of the other components were 3D printed. So we created a prototype to match what we designed virtually. The last image is the actual part that was produced in production and you can buy now. So you can see how the progression went from the concept through the prototype being very close to what the actual finished product is. And we're able to do this once again within just a few months.
And it has USB plugs on the bottom, right? So you can
plugs on the
recharge all of
bottom,
your
yeah.
electronics. Pretty cool.
The thing about prototyping is that most people, their minds work better when they have something in their hand.
Sure.
And the faster we can go from a concept to having something in their hand to use, to test, to look at, the easier it is for them to evaluate, is this really what I was thinking? Or sometimes what happens is they arrive at new ideas or enhancements to their original idea, because the brain works a lot better when it has something solid you can look at and manipulate.
Yeah, like how would you describe that to me? If you,
Well, right.
Yeah,
Exactly.
It's much easier to hold it.
Perfect example.
Okay.
So
Almost out of time, but we have, what,
sorry.
one more picture here?
There's a few more pictures.
Couple
Yeah.
more? Okay.
Yeah, okay, so this is a prosthetic hand that was 3D printed, and this was done for just a few $100s. This was done for a girl who would not have gotten a prosthetic otherwise because she couldn't have afforded it. They scanned her arm, the stump. They were able to make a custom-fitted, 3D printed prosthetic hand. That hand manipulates just by printing it off a 3D printer.
That alone, it blows me away.
Yeah.
Okay.
One more example, if you don't mind. The next one,
Sorry.
this is good, okay? This is a heart, all right?
A heart?
And where this came about is a surgeon who was doing pediatric heart surgeries would have to go in and do an exploratory surgery to find out what the issue was with the heart, the mechanical issue with the heart that he had to repair. What he had the brilliant idea to take the image that they use through scanning, like MRI and CAT scan, print the heart up in 3D, show it to his team, showing them the defect outside of the body.
Wow.
Then only required one surgery to go in and fix, as opposed to two surgeries, the expense, the risk to life, and everything else. Just another good example of what 3D printing can do and has done.
Okay. So bring all of that home. How does this relate to people in Fresno? I mean, if they have an idea, do they come to you?
Yeah.
What does your company do?
What Blue Dolphin does is we provide engineering resources to large companies, but we also do it for entrepreneurs and inventors. Part of what supports the work we do when we're doing the engineering and design work, as I said, we do a virtual design, is that we then often create a prototype of that design. Just for the reasons I stated earlier, it's something you can use, see in your hand, and evaluate. And we have 3D printers that we use in-house. We have machinery that we can use to make prototypes. And the 3D printing is just one of the big tools that we use to help people realize their ideas.
And folks can reach you?
They can reach us, they can call us at the office. It's 559-222-4111. Or they can reach us on our website, which is www.bluedolphinengineering.com.
Fascinating stuff. Mark,
Yeah.
thank you for sharing that today.
Yeah, thanks,
Appreciate
Mike.
it.
Good seeing you.
All right. And we will be back with more. Oh, is one more picture before we go?
Oh,
you want to
sure.
pop it up?
Yeah,
All
you
right.
bet.
Yeah, let's pop it up.
You bet.
There you go.
Okay, so now what this is 3D printing of skin. So you want to know the different things that we can 3D print? This is skin. And you can imagine what the capabilities are. For example,
Wow.
You're a burn victim, and you need to replace the skin that's on say your arm's burnt. They could scan the arm, they could print the skin so that the actual skin that's being laid matches the contours of the skin that's being replaced. That's 3D printing of skin.
Imagine if Dr. Frankenstein had that one. All right, Mark, again, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, I love all this talk. Man, that is fascinating stuff. All right, we will be back with more on Central Valley Talk.